Knockout Radio. Let's welcome Jim Cummings. Jim, how are you?
Hey, it's another day in paradise. Finally made it.
We appreciate it. We appreciate the effort. I know you're coming to the Tampa Bay area at the end of the month for the Tampa Bay Comic Convention, which we will be at. But before we talk about that,
Good.
this is mainly a sports and entertainment. Are you a sports guy? Are there certain sports or teams that you like?
Oh, sure. Well, I spent so much time down in New Orleans that I'm kind of a Saints guy. And then I follow boxing in general.
I was at the Super Bowl that the Saints won, and I remember being down under, and I think I was headed in knowing me, I was probably headed to my car to leave because I like to beat traffic. And I remember watching Robin Roberts just tear up and crying unbelievable because her Saints won the Super Bowl.
Oh, ain't it the truth? Ain't it the truth? But we were all set to do it again the next year, and I'm not real sure what happened, but somebody sabotaged something.
Well, and that's normally what happens. But the division obviously very tough. I don't know so much about the Bucks anymore, where we're based with Brady leaving. But that team's still decent. Carolina has made some steps. Atlanta has made some steps. But I believe the Saints are the early pick to win the division.
Okay, I'll take it.
You'll take it.
I'll be there. Yeah, man.
What about your boxing love? I understand there's a pretty big event coming up in Vegas.
Well, yeah, I wish I was going to be there, but, I'm going way back. I mean, I was a big fan of Ray Mancini, Boom Boom.
Boom Boom.
He's a buddy of mine, in fact. He's from Youngstown, Ohio, too, so am I. And, it's a great place to be from, but you got to leave in order to say that, right? I think there was such a golden era there when I was coming up, like in the 80s and 90s with Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray. I just glommed onto it, and now it's now, of course, you see guys like Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, and it just keeps on going.
Yeah, don't forget Jake Paul.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you become a voice actor?
Well, I was a very annoying child. How about that? And, I can remember sitting on my dad's lap. I was about 4 or 5 years old, and the Jack Benny program was on, and Mel Blanc was one of his guests. And my dad said to me, he goes, "You see this guy over here?" And he had on a sombrero and a serape, and pretending to be from Mexico City. And he goes, "Well, this is the guy that does that Tasmanian Devil and Bugs Bunny and Sylvester the Cat every Saturday morning." And the first thing I thought of was, well, I bet he never had to stand in the corner for making weird voices and sounds and everything. So I thought, right then and there, I said, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to do that. And so I did. It's actually that simple.
So when you started the career, and now a few years later, and you've done as much as you have done, are any of those voices that you did back as a child, is that a voice of any character?
Actually, probably no, unless you count my Aunt Grace, God rest her soul. She was a unique character. And if anybody out there remembers Chippendale Rescue Rangers, there was a human character named Lieutenant Spinelli. And he kind of talked like this, like a sort of a punch-drunk boxer. And God rest her soul, that was my impression of my Aunt Grace.
Awesome, and I do remember the show.
Yeah, and my Uncle Sam made it into, he was a couple dragons. And he was the guy who's going to talk like this, Sam Tobacco. How you doing there, kid? And to me, he just sounded scary as hell, so I made him a dragon or a bear or two.
So,
a couple cartoons.
So how do you put that together? Is it they tell you this is the character? Do you have to watch what the character does or whatever, and then you develop the voice? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, usually the best way to do it, I've found, is they have a model sheet. It'll show the character when he's mad or happy or sleeping or, And my philosophy is you have to create a body of work, so to speak, for each character. So you have to, what's he going to sound like when he's snoring? What's he going to sound like when somebody drops something on his toe or gets punched in the stomach? You have to have a full range of emotion, and obviously, if he's going to sing or if he's going to, hopefully he's going to talk. And, you know, you just have to, you know, and I always say that the best way to do it is to think of it as doing characters, not voices.
Right, right.
Because that encompasses the whole thing.
How many characters have you done, and how do you keep them all straight?
Well, you know, those are both good questions, and I get them a lot, but I don't know how many, but it's a few hundred, maybe like 4. Some people say 700. I don't know if that's the case, but, you know, how do I keep them all straight? It's actually, I don't know. I jokingly say we are schizophrenic, and we are too. So it's kind of easy. You know, I'll never mistake Winnie the Pooh for the Tasmanian Devil. Oh, what did you oh. You know, that's not going to happen. So it's easier in that.
Jim, so Jim, with that, have you ever done anything like, you know, for fun, you know, at the drive-thru and ordering food, or, you know, do you use the voices of their characters for just entertaining yourself?
Well, you know, I have, and then as time went on, it was kind of like, you know, then I'd spend 10 minutes at the drive-thru. Wow, you sound just like him. You know, then I'd say, well, it's because I am him. I am Tigger. I do found it's incredible. And then I'm stuck there for a while, so I just kind of, but I do a lot of cameos, put it that way.
Is there any? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
A lot of conventions. I do a lot of conventions, so everybody gets a kick out of it.
And you know, you'll be here in the Tampa Bay area at the end of the month, and I want to ask: is there any character that you're not allowed to do that you can only do, you know, when you're doing that show or movie or whatever?
No, not really. I mean, each one has its own world. Like Hondo Naka from Star Wars is never going to show up in the 100-Acre Wood, or I'm not going to have to worry about that. For that matter, Winnie the Pooh will never show up in Darkwing Duck's hometown, St. Canard. So they've all got their own little worlds that they live in, and there's plenty of room, so everybody come on and visit us.
And I always ask this, you know, whether we've had an artist on and, you know, their paintings. I'm sure every character, every voice for the character, you know, means something and is special. But it's like our children. We have a favorite child. Come on, I know Matt down in Brazil does. Everybody does. So is there a voice or two that is your favorite?
Well, you know, I'm not sure if it's because I have X amount of them, but I don't really have one, but I have several. And Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, you know, they're in their own category. And Pooh is sweet as honey, and Tigger is excruciatingly, extremely bouncy. And so, you know, they've got their own, they're in the classic character zone. And Taz, of course, he's the anti-Pooh. And I got to say, I'm very, very fond of Darkwing Duck because he's an original character. And the same is true from Ray, from Princess and the Frog. He's a big fan favorite. You know, the women, they love a man with a big back poach. And then you go right from there to my buddy Hondo Naka from Star Wars Clone Wars. And in fact, he's got his own, speaking of Florida, down at Disney World and Disneyland. He's got probably the most popular ride there, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. And I basically steal Han Solo's ship about $500 times a day. And go and steal a bunch of stuff, bring it on home, and try to get it parked again before he notices. And I con Chewbacca into helping me. So stop on down. And for that matter, stop on down to the Comic-Con as well.
For sure.
Say hello, and we'll have some grins.
I know Matt has a question, but before we go back down to Brazil and he asks you, maybe while you're here in Tampa Bay, we can gas up the limo, take you to Walt Disney World, which will help us be able to skip that 4.5-hour, 5-hour line, and we can go and enjoy that ride.
You never know. It's just crazy enough to work. I'll bring my Disney dust and I'll sprinkle it all over the place. I'll have Tinkerbell.
So Jim, in Hollywood, I mean, it's notorious that certain roles get passed up and other actors get the job or they get passed on a movie. Are there any characters out there that you've not got an opportunity to do, or you missed an opportunity like that you wish you could have had? Any voices you haven't done?
Well, the answer is yes and no, because I'm certainly not jealous of anybody or envious of anybody. My plate's more than full. But I will say one thing, that I had laryngitis twice in my life, and one was the week that they were auditioning for The Simpsons. And so I never got to go in and do a read. I mean, I don't have any idea. I mean, they were already established anyway. But I could have been a mailman or a bellboy or, something. I don't know. But, something. But, no, I didn't get to audition for that. It's not that I didn't get the role. I didn't even get the audition.
Didn't even get to audition it. How difficult is it? I would assume it's like green screen. It's not obviously having an actor there with you as you're conversing back and forth, right?
Well, I prefer when we have the full cast. But nowadays, 99 times out of 100, we're just a single person, just recording your lines and your lines only. And it's funky because you can feed off the person's reaction behind you and in front of you. You can add to their read, or they can add to yours. They can react. Acting is reacting as much as anything else. And if there's no one in the room with you, that goes away. So you do your best. You do 2 or 3 takes, and they'll fit it into the story as best they can, and it comes out beautifully.
End of the
fun house. There's never anybody there but me.
Sure. At the end of the month here in Tampa, the Tampa Bay Comic Convention, as people come up to you when you're at your table or when you're walking around, do they ask you, for certain characters, or do you just use different characters? How does that work?
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what. Many, many times, and if you stop by the con, you will definitely see. There will be many Darkwing Duck, God bless them, a few Hondo Onakas, cosplayers, and plenty of Winnie the Pooh, a few Tiggers too. But for some reason, ladies, girls, and they're just beautiful. They love to dress up like Winnie the Pooh. And they've got the ears, they got the red shirt, and then they're in their yellow pajamas. And they'll go, "Who do you think I'm dressed up as?" And I said, "Oh, let me guess, Smokey the Bear." And then, because I was him too. But anyway, it's a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully we will see you. We will be out there on, I think it's Sunday we're going out there. Thank you very much for your time, Jim. I know that we have your address. We're going to send you a care package from 8 Man Strong for coming on and talking to us. We're going to put you on hold real quick, and we're going to hit a break. I appreciate it. That is Jim Cummings,
Fantastic.
the voice of many characters, and you can meet him at the end of the month at the Tampa Bay Comic Convention. We're going to take a quick break. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong, Staff Zone, and Bucked Up Energy Drink.